that the freak-offs made her feel disgusting and humiliated and worthless.
She did say these freak-offs lasted between 1 and 4 days, and it would take her an equal amount of time to get her body recovered, to rehydrate, to rest.
Well, I think we're going to learn a lot about the nature of Cassie's relationship.
Cassie Ventura just named Christina Korn as keeping tabs on her for Diddy.
Second thing that was discussed this morning, will the media be able to see video of these?
Day 2 of testimony in the trial against Diddy has concluded, revealing disturbing new allegations. Cassie took the stand and shared harrowing details, claiming Diddy coerced her into sexual acts with escorts. She testified that he even forced the escorts to urinate on her. The courtroom was stunned as she broke down in tears while recounting the traumatic experiences. Adding to the weight of the allegations, one of the escorts was called to testify and corroborated parts of Cassie's story. Hotel employees have also stepped forward, stating Diddy paid them hush money to cover up what was happening behind closed doors. The emotional impact of the testimony was palpable, with Cassie visibly shaken as she recounted the abuse.
2 witnesses were called today, including a former security officer at the hotel, where Diddy is seen on video attacking Ventura brutally. You remember that video back in 2016. The prosecutors played the video. The witness testified that Diddy tried to pay him off with a giant wad of cash. The day's second witness was a male escort. This is where it really got very juicy, who says that he was paid by Diddy numerous times to have sex with Cassie while Diddy sat there.
The revelations about Diddy's alleged abuse are deeply disturbing, painting a chilling picture of his actions. Prosecutors argue that he didn't operate alone. His chief of staff, bodyguards, and others were allegedly complicit in helping him cover up the abuse. According to testimony, Diddy regularly paid off hotel staff to keep quiet, and at one point, even resorted to kidnapping Cassie when she tried to escape his control. The allegations are so severe that one of the escorts Diddy hired reportedly refused to participate in some of the acts, describing them as beyond anything she'd ever encountered. These claims highlight just how extreme and terrifying the situation allegedly was for Cassie.
Emily Johnson actually said that Cassie did choke on the urine of an escort when Diddy forced this escort to allegedly urinate in her mouth. They did say inner circle numerous times, I believe, really trying to amplify the RICO charges. Diddy couldn't have done all of these crimes without his inner circle, right? Without his bodyguard, without his drive. He kidnapped his assistant to go and try to find Cassie when he thought Cassie was cheating. I mean, it was wild. At a certain point, wasn't able to perform for Diddy and Cassie. He got erectile dysfunction because of what he saw. He said he saw Diddy at one point after an encounter, drag Cassie by the hair from her computer seat all the way back to her bedroom while she was kicking and screaming and crying. And after she apologized and came out, he said that Diddy said, okay, you guys want to continue. And he couldn't perform. And that was it. From there, he could not perform after that. And he saw Diddy abuse Cassie 2 or 3 more times after that as well. And this is a muscular guy. He was 41 years old, a bit smaller, but again, he seemed incredibly affected by what he saw.
And was there, just quickly, Lauren, was there a point where he talked about, because I was trying to follow the blogs, again, it's hard, you were in there, it's difficult for us on the outside. Did he talk about Cassie at one point being under the influence of drugs to the point that she was slumped over, and Diddy still wanted him to have...
Diddy allegedly showed no regard for Cassie's well-being, often resorting to violence, beating, dragging, and punching her if she resisted participating in what have been described as multi-day freak-off sessions. These disturbing events were reportedly so intense that Cassie required IV fluids to recover from the physical toll. According to testimony, the first time Cassie was given drugs, she had no idea. Her drink had allegedly been spiked, and it wasn't, until after the ordeal was over, that Diddy informed her he had laced it with ecstasy. The accounts paint a horrifying picture of manipulation, abuse, and control.
He told the jury that while he watched, sometimes sitting in the corner and masturbating. Through tears, she said she took drugs to numb herself, cocaine, and ketamine, all of it allegedly supplied by Diddy. She said the freak-offs included as many as 4 male escorts at once and typically lasted 36 to 72 hours. The freak-offs made her feel disgusting and humiliated and worthless, but she said she couldn't say no because she says Diddy threatened to release videos of the freak-offs with her.
Just before they broke for lunch, Cassie Ventura described how freak-offs actually became a job, lasting 36 to 48 hours, the longest one lasting up to 4 days. No wonder the participants needed IV fluids after a freak-off. I'm just curious, to Lauren Collin joining us at the courthouse, how was the jury responding?
What I will say is Cassie made a point to say that when she wasn't making music, she was actually having to, quote, recover from these freak-offs. And again, she did say these freak-offs lasted between 1 and 4 days, and it would take her an equal amount of time to get her body recovered, to rehydrate, to rest, to detox from these drugs.
Cassie was only 22 when Diddy allegedly began coercing her into drug-fueled freak-off sessions. These disturbing encounters reportedly spanned anywhere from 1 to 4 days, during which Diddy would force her to have sex with multiple escorts while he watched. According to Cassie, these events occurred several times a month and were frequently filmed, adding another layer of humiliation and trauma. She described being left physically and emotionally shattered, often needing weeks to recover after each ordeal.
That she said on the stand. At one point, she said that a male escort had urinated in her mouth and she actually choked on it. And it was at that point, someone in the courtroom actually had to walk out of the door there while, Diddy sat at the defense table listening on here. But as she was describing these events where she said that, there were multiple male escorts that were happening at one time, these freak-offs would happen for 2, 3, the longest 4 days at a time. And control is the word we need to talk about. That is what prosecutors really laid out. And you heard Cassie describe how every action during these freak-offs, which were between her and male escorts, not necessarily between her and her boyfriend, Sean Diddy Combs, he sat off to the side really directing things according to her and along with what he wanted to see. But he was in control, she said, of exactly how they did everything, from the platform shoes that she needed to wear, the clothes that she needed to wear occasionally, masks, wigs, whether or not controlled by him. And mind you, Brian, his children, 6 children, are in the courtroom at this point listening to all of this. And the jury was picked knowing that they needed a certain level of comfort to hear these types of descriptions. It was very emotional and really tough to hear, Brian.
The situation became so disturbing that even the escorts began expressing concern for Cassie's safety. After witnessing Diddy violently assault her when she was unable to perform, the atmosphere shifted. David, one of the escorts Diddy had hired, later revealed that he was so unsettled by the beating he witnessed that he refused to continue participating in the freak-off session. The level of abuse, he said, was too much, even for someone accustomed to extreme environments.
Once he saw Diddy beat Cassie, he could no longer, perform and be engaged. Because before, he said, even if they hadn't paid him, he was excited to be part of their world. He was enjoying that kind of activity with them. And then things started changing when he saw one time he was on the couch, Cassie was at her computer, and Diddy, he said, was in Cassie's bedroom. Now, Diddy apparently called out to Cassie to come into the bedroom, and she allegedly told him, just hold on a second, my personal information's on the computer. Now, Daniel describes being absolutely shocked when all of a sudden a liquor bottle, Diddy throws it from across the room right toward Cassie. And then he comes running towards her, grabs her by her hair, drags her into her bedroom and tells her, when I tell you to come, you don't wait. You just come. Her, beating her, yelling at her, and Cassie's screaming out, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And he says he was just kind of frozen in place. He didn't know what to do. And prosecutors asked him, why didn't you intervene? Why didn't you go inside? And he said, look, I know this is somebody with a lot of resources. Quite frankly, I was afraid for my life. Now, that drew a lot of objections from the defense, but the judge allowed that testimony. And he, again, reiterated that he was scared in that moment for Cassie, feeling like she was in a dangerous situation, but he didn't feel it was safe enough for him to intervene.
We thought what we saw in that awful video from the Intercontinental was bad, but to hear the actual graphic details of what Cassie and others endured day after day for years is just completely heartbreaking. And to hear the sex worker actually try to offer her aid when, she was being beaten, and literally she went to him for solace, as opposed to the person who supposedly loves and cares about her. She had to jump into the arms of a sex worker, and he was literally like, this is not okay. You need to leave this relationship. And she did, unfortunately, what so many survivors do, which is, I'm okay, it's going to be okay. Basically, I can handle this. And the reality is she really needed to get out because she was being violated and degraded in so many different ways. And my heart just breaks for her so much.
Melba, you're so right. Ours do as well. What's it going to be like today when she is perhaps called? We think that she's going to be witness number 3. We have a clip where we caught up with her lawyer outside.
How is Cassie? Is she emotional? Is she feeling okay with this? Is she nervous?
She's ready.
She is ready. She's also pregnant, God bless her, and visibly pregnant too. So in the later stages of her pregnancy.
Diddy would reportedly sit and watch as Cassie was forced to engage in sex acts with escorts, paying them between $4,000 and $6,000 per session. One of the most disturbing revelations is that Cassie herself would contact the escorts and even request degrading acts, like being urinated on, not out of desire, but out of fear. According to Cassie, she felt she had no choice. She was terrified of what Diddy might do if she didn't comply. She explained that every time she attempted to leave, Diddy would track her down, using his staff and bodyguards to keep her under control and ensure she couldn't escape.
Testimony in the trial taking jurors to Los Angeles, March 2016, in the hotel where that surveillance video was taken. The first witness, an LAPD officer who worked security at the hotel, he says he responded to a call for a woman in distress on the 6th floor.
When he got to the floor, he noticed that there was glass on the floor, that the vase and the flowers were broken.
The security guard described going back to Diddy's hotel room and standing in the doorway while Ventura grabbed her things. Inside, another man sitting at the corner of the bed.
So from the very start, the first witness brings the jury into that hallway where he said Sean Combs looked at him with a devilish stare and Cassie Ventura had a purple eye.
Sean Combs tried to offer him money, to give him money to make this go away. And he said he wouldn't accept them.
Have sex with Cassie on multiple occasions at several high-end New York City hotels while Diddy watched. The witness said he was paid between $700 and $6,000
for a bachelorette party. At least that's what he thought. But when he got to the hotel, to the room, that Cassie opened up the door. He did not know that was Cassie, and that she told him, well, it's my birthday and my husband wants to do something special, so can you give me a massage?
Court. Proceedings have revealed text messages exchanged between Diddy and Cassie, which prosecutors say clearly show he was coercing her into participating in the so-called freak-off sessions. A female escort, hired by Diddy, also took the stand as a witness. Following the lawsuit's filing, Diddy allegedly contacted her, attempting to offer money in exchange for a statement claiming she was never forced into anything. What he didn't know, however, was that she recorded the entire conversation, now a key piece of evidence.
I think that will ultimately be a difficult thing for the defense to show because of all the evidence the prosecutors in the opening statement said that they had, showing that actually these women really weren't making a choice. You have the video of Cassie where, Sean Combs is beating her, striking her, dragging her out of that hallway video when she was trying to leave one of these freak-off sessions. That doesn't exactly look like a choice. We also heard from the prosecutors that there are are text messages where one of the victims, known as Jane, is saying, I don't want to engage in these freak-offs. I don't want to do this. And then there are apparently also recorded calls that we are going to hear between Sean Combs and Jane, in which Sean Combs is offering her money and telling her to say that she wanted to engage in these freak-offs. None of those pieces of corroborating evidence sounds like these women had a choice. So I think that is going to be really critical evidence for the prosecution. And just one last point, even if there is the charges, but there are 2 charges, one for each victim of did that, he is guilty. So these arguments about the women had a choice, they're not really a defense to these transportation for prostitution charges. I think those charges in particular will be very difficult for the defense to.
While on the stand, Cassie broke down in tears as she described how Diddy was essentially exploiting her by forcing her to have sex with other men. She recounted how during the grueling 2 to 3 day long freak-off sessions, Diddy would give her drugs, often cocaine and MCS, to keep her awake and compliant. Cassie explained that any sign of resistance would trigger Diddy's rage. If she pushed back or tried to say no, he would become aggressive and physically violent, reinforcing the fear that kept
Cassie in court, reportedly tearing up on the witness stand as she testifies against ex-Diddy in his trafficking trial.
It'll be interesting to see how they react and respond to the alleged victim, Cassie Ventura, because she is expecting her 3rd child and is clearly pregnant. So how jurors will kind of see that or visually how they take that into consideration, we don't know. But really, they're supposed to make sure that they stay fair and impartial and pay attention to the facts, which is something even the judge warned them about before they were official jurors.
Diddy maintains his innocence against all charges.
That the videos of alleged freak-offs will be shown, but that those videos, they said, didn't come from the government's investigation so much as it came directly from Cassie's phone. But they were essentially trying to raise doubt about why did she hold on to these videos. And again, making this argument that this case is about love and infidelity and money. But the prosecution is saying, no, you will hear from witnesses that will tell you that they were abused. They were kicked, they were punched, they were coerced to taking drugs and to performing sex acts. So this is only the beginning.
Indeed, I can tell you that I got a chance to listen to her testimony inside court here behind us, and she was emotional. She broke down into tears at one point when she talked about participating in those freak-offs. She says that she was just 22 years old, had just turned 22 when Combs first proposed to her those drug-fueled sex marathons with Escort. She says eventually, though, they became almost weekly and that they lasted on average, as you said, about 2 to 3 days, the longest one 4 days, and that she stayed awake by drugs that she says Combs gave to her, including ecstasy, cocaine, and She testified that those freak-offs made her feel dirty and worthless, but that she felt like she did not have a choice but to participate because she says Combs would become violent with her. As you pointed out, she says that he would bash her in the head, kick and drag her, and that she didn't know what would happen if she didn't do what he wanted her to do. She told the jury that she...
Cassie also revealed that during their relationship, Diddy was unfaithful to her, even while he was still involved with Kim Porter. It's important to note that Cassie was only 19 years old when their relationship began, while Diddy was nearing 40, highlighting a significant power imbalance from the very hotel security personnel who were present during MOA. The 2016 incident where Diddy allegedly assaulted Cassie have now taken the stand. One guard testified that Diddy tried to bribe him to keep silent about what he had witnessed, including Diddy physically forcing Cassie to remain by his side. According to the testimony, Cassie had been desperately trying to escape a man in the room, but Diddy was coercing her into having sex with him. The incident further underscored the extent of control and abuse Cassie was subjected to during their relationship.
The first witness to testify was Officer Israel Flores. He was the security officer back in 2016 when we saw that now infamous recording of Sean Combs allegedly beating Cassie Ventura in that hotel hallway. We heard from him. We watched the video in its entirety from multiple angles in order to see exactly what unfolded. And as we watch this video, I want to say, by the way, everything we're about to talk about during this live shot is
could be perceived as disturbing materials. Just want to give our viewers a little bit of a warning here. Watching again, and then at one point, this Cassie walks over to a phone that's in this lobby, lobby area of their 6th floor hotel room, and she calls for this instant services, and a security guard comes up, and at that point he's able to separate them, and he walks them down the hallway towards the hotel room where they were. Cassie apparently telling the security officer that she just wants to leave, and Sean Combs reportedly telling her that she's not going to leave. And when they opened the door to that hotel room, there was another man, according to this officer, sitting in the hotel room.
A current LAPD officer, a former security guard who can lay the foundation for that video and can talk about the black eye that Cassie suffered and the fact that she wanted to leave and escape this freak off. And Combs reportedly offering him a bribe to cover it up. So I think it's a very important first witness to get that video in. In addition to the violence against Cassie, Combs broke a vase over in the hotel. So that's something that also shows the sort of violent streak, really erratic behavior, him sitting in a towel with just his socks on. So really disturbing and also graphic details by Flores, the first government.
With her due date just days away, Cassie's decision to step forward and testify against Diddy speaks volumes about her strength.
I think we're going to learn a lot about the nature of Cassie's relationship with Diddy. Some of those details we've seen in prior lawsuits, but to hear her on the stand actually giving those details, reliving those moments herself. Also, you have to remember, she's very pregnant right now. So I'm going to be curious to see how long she makes it on the stand, how she's emotionally able to weather all of the questions about, was this her choice or did she feel like she had to do it?
Judge Aaron Subramanian has ruled that the freak-off video, depicting Cassie and other victims being coerced into sexual acts, will remain confidential and will not be shown to the public or the media. In his statement, the judge emphasized that there is no legal basis for exposing such sensitive material in open court, especially when it carries a clear risk of re-traumatizing the victim.
Of these freak-offs. These are these sexual encounters between, for instance, Cassie Ventura, as well as another woman, Jane, and male escorts, as well as Sean Diddy Combs. But there's an argument that only the jurors will be able to see these. So we'll have to see what happens. The judge is taking that under advisement. Right now, what's taking place is the continuation of the cross-examination of a man by the name of Daniel Phillip. Julie, he is the male stripper that was hired by, he said, Cassie to engage.
Diddy reportedly relied on his staff to monitor Cassie closely. During her testimony, Cassie named several of his trusted aides, including his assistants, Christina Courtroom and Neil Dominic. When asked about her interactions with Courtroom, Cassie explained, "I talked to Christina about many things. She was aware of a lot of my personal matters, from scheduling to Diddy's mood swings." Cassie also testified that Diddy's security guard, Rock, would confiscate her belongings as a form of punishment under Diddy's orders. She recalled, "Whenever I tried to hide or avoid Diddy, Rock would track me down. My car would be taken away, I'd be kicked out of apartments, and jewelry would be seized. It all depended on how Diddy was feeling that day with no warning."
Well, Diane, prosecutors have wasted no time getting right into the alleged abuse that Cassie Ventura says she endured for years. Ventura telling jurors, quote, "He would bash my head, knock me over, drag me, kick me, stomp me in the head when I was down." She also got into the nature of those so-called freak-offs, saying that they involved hiring an escort and they performed under the direction of Combs, saying that she did not feel she had much of a choice but to participate, that she feared that Combs would retaliate each other face to face since 2018. You can imagine that emotions are very high in the courtroom right now. And this is expected to be
Christina Courtroom as keeping tabs on her for Diddy. Cassie Ventura is giving her testimony against Diddy right now in his trial, and she just name-dropped Diddy's ex-chief of staff, Christina Courtroom. Cassie Ventura started her testimony about her early relationship with Diddy, and she's in a Gatorade bottle. Then she went on to describe the abuse that would start happening to her and how Diddy would keep tabs on her. The government asked Cassie Ventura, "How did Diddy keep tabs on you?" And she said, "We didn't live far apart. He'd send security to come find me or a trusted assistant." Like who? David James or Christina Korm. And we know that Diddy's ex-chief of staff, Christina Korm, has been named in multiple civil lawsuits with Diddy. So the fact that Cassie Ventura just listed her literally sent chills all the way up my spine. Because back in 2018 and prior, during Cassie and Diddy's relationship, I didn't even know if Christina Korm at this time would have any part in any of this. Cassie Ventura points out, I already know that this will not be the last that we hear about Christina Korm. I just didn't know it was happening this early on. Diddy's ex-assistant, Philip Pines, who was on the fall for Diddy, admitted that he testified to the grand jury against Diddy, and he showed us so many pieces of evidence in his documentary interview. He showed text messages between him and Christina Korm of Christina Korm asking for all of these different